A millionaire CEO once asked me, "Will you stay if I undress?" But she wasn't talking about seduction. She was talking about stripping away the power, the money, the persona, everything that made her successful. She was asking, "If I showed you the broken woman underneath, would you still want me here?" This is the story of the night I pulled her from a river, and she pulled me from the ruins of my own grief. Welcome to Kindness Arena. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen connections that change lives, please help me prove something wrong. My mother said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers. Help me show her that stories like this matter and deserve to be heard by hitting the subscribe button, liking the video, comment your thoughts, where you're watching from, and share it with someone who needs it to stay motivated. Your support keeps these powerful, true stories alive. The Mercedes hit the guardrail at exactly 11:47 p.m., metal screaming against metal before the luxury sedan plunged into the black waters of the Hudson. Inside, Janet Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech, worth $847 million according to Forbes, didn't reach for the door handle. She let the cold water rush in, welcoming it like an old friend she'd been avoiding for too long. Finally, she thought. Finally, it ends. The pressure equalized. The car sank deeper. Janet closed her eyes. Then someone grabbed her arm. Murphy Doe surfaced, dragging the limp woman with him, his fisherman's arms burning from the effort. He'd been checking his nets when he'd seen the car go over. No hesitation, just dive. His daughter Emma was waiting back at their trailer, but some instincts you don't ignore. He hauled Janet onto the muddy bank, started CPR. Water erupted from her lungs. She gasped, coughed, then her eyes snapped open, not grateful but furious. "What did you do?" she choked out. "What the hell did you do?" Murphy sat back on his heels, river water streaming from his flannel shirt. "Saved your life, lady." "I didn't ask you to." Janet tried to sit up, failed, collapsed back onto the mud. Designer clothes ruined. $70,000 watches are still ticking on her wrist. "You had no right to save someone from drowning." Murphy's voice was quiet but firm. "Yeah, I did." She turned her face away, and in the moonlight, Murphy saw something that made his chest tighten. She wasn't just angry. She was devastated. Murphy couldn't leave her there. He wasn't built that way. Against her weak protests, he got her into his beat-up pickup truck. "No hospital," she insisted. "No police." "My place then," he said. "Just until you're warm and dry. Then you can do whatever you want." The trailer was small but clean, photos of a little girl covering one wall. Janet sat wrapped in a blanket that smelled like laundry detergent and would smoke while Murphy made tea in a kitchen the size of her walk-in closet. "Emma," she asked, nodding at the photos. "My daughter. She's at her grandmother's tonight." Murphy handed her the mug. "Why were you in the river, Janet Morrison?" She jerked her head up. "How do you? Your face is on billboards downtown. Tech CEO, youngest self-made woman billionaire, all that." He sat across from her. "What could possibly make someone like you want to end it?" The laugh that escaped her was broken glass. "Someone like me? You don't know anything about someone like me. So tell me." And maybe it was the near-death experience or the fact that this stranger had already seen her at her absolute worst, but Janet started talking. About the company she'd built from nothing. About discovering yesterday that her CFO, her fiancé, had been embezzling millions while sleeping with her VP of operations. About the board meeting this morning where they'd voted her out of her own company. About standing in her penthouse afterward, 43 years old, and realizing she had no one, no family, no real friends, just money and a reputation built on sand. "I built everything," she whispered, "and it meant nothing. I meant nothing." Murphy listened, really listened, in a way no one had listened to her in years. "You're wrong," he said finally. "You meant something tonight. Emma lost her mom 2 years ago to cancer. And every day since, I've had to be enough for her. I had to keep going even when I wanted to quit. You know why I jumped in that river?" Janet shook her head. "Because somewhere, someone might need you the way Emma needs me. And they don't even know it yet." She stayed that night and the next. Murphy went to work on his fishing boat each morning while Janet, wearing borrowed clothes, no makeup, hair in a simple ponytail, discovered what it meant to just exist. She helped Emma with homework, learned that Murphy worked 3 jobs, to keep them afloat. Watch him read bedtime stories with voices that made Emma giggle. On the third night, after Emma was asleep, Janet found Murphy on the small porch. "I need to ask you something," she said. He looked up, patient as always. Janet's hands trembled. She'd faced down corporate raiders and hostile takeovers, but this terrified her. "That first night, you said somewhere, someone might need me. What if I think I've found them?" Murphy stood slowly. "What if I stayed?" Janet continued, words rushing out. "Not as Janet Morrison, CEO, just as me. What if I wanted to learn how to be the person who means something to someone? Could you teach me that?" "Janet, I know it's crazy. I know you barely know me, but if I walked away now, went back to that life." She met his eyes. "I'd just end up in another river." Murphy was quiet for a long moment. "Emma needs stability. She needs... I know. I'm not asking to jump into being her mother. I'm asking for a chance to figure out who I am when I'm not performing. When I'm not CEO Janet Morrison." She took a shaky breath. "I'm asking if you'd stay with me through that journey. If you'd let me stay with you." He studied her face, really seeing her the way he had that first night. Not the polished exterior, but the broken, real person underneath. "Can I be honest?" Murphy asked. Janet nodded. "I haven't looked at anyone the way I've been looking at you since my wife died, and it scares the hell out of me." He ran a hand through his hair. "But Emma adores you already, and you make me remember what it feels like to want someone to stay. Is that a yes?" Murphy stepped closer. "It's a let's take it slow. It's a you need to heal, really heal, before you make life-changing decisions. It's a..." He smiled, soft and genuine. "It's a yes. I want you to stay, but as yourself. Not because you're running from something, but because you're running to something." Janet felt tears on her cheeks. Real tears, not the performative kind she'd learned in boardrooms. "I don't even know who I am anymore." "Then let's find out together." 6 months later, Janet sat in a coffee shop she now part-owned with Murphy, a small business, nothing like Morrison Tech, but profitable in theirs. Emma did homework in the corner booth, their booth, she called it. Murphy worked the espresso machine, occasionally catching Janet's eye and smiling. Her lawyers had settled everything. She'd lost the company, but kept enough money that she'd never have to worry. More importantly, she'd gained something she'd never had: purpose beyond profit. The door chimed. A young woman walked in, eyes red from crying, a designer bag clutched to her chest. She ordered coffee with shaking hands. Janet recognized that look, that desperation. "Hey," Janet said gently, bringing the coffee over herself. "Rough day." The woman laughed bitterly. "Rough life. I know something about that." Janet sat down uninvited. "I'm Janet. Want to talk about it?" And as the woman started to open up, Janet caught Murphy watching from behind the counter. He nodded, proud. Emma waved. This was the meaning. This was matching. This was worth staying for. That night, after Emma was asleep and the coffee shop was closed, Murphy found Janet on their porch, the porch that was now theirs, in the small house they bought together. "Remember what you asked me that third night?" Murphy said, pulling her close. "Which part?" Janet smiled against his shoulder. "You asked if I'd stay if you undressed all the armor, all the CEO persona, everything you'd built to protect yourself." Janet pulled back to look at him. "And you said yes to the real me." "No," Murphy corrected gently. "I said yes to us, to building something real together." He kissed her forehead. "Best decision I ever made." Janet thought about the river, about the moment she'd decided to let go, about the stranger who'd refused to let her go. "Second best," she said. "What's the first?" "Jumping in." She looked up at him, eyes clear and alive. "I had to go under to learn how to surface. I had to lose everything to find out what actually matters." "And what matters?" Janet glanced through the window at the photos, now covering the walls. Not just Emma anymore, but the three of them. Their family. "This," she said simply. "Staying. Choosing to stay. Every single day." And somewhere in the night, the river flowed on, no longer an ending, but a beginning, the place where Janet Morrison drowned and the woman who loved Murphy Doe and his daughter was born. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness is never wasted and that even broken path can lead to beautiful places and change of lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Arena, because your support keeps stories like this alive and spreading. Tell us in the comment what you would have done differently. Would you have saved her from drowning? Or has a stranger's kindness ever changed your life in ways you didn't expect? We'd love to hear your story.